performance mindset. Look at all. Getting ready to present at the. Getting ready to start the peak performance. Welcome to the Savvy Sales Lady Live. I'm your host, Christine Harrington, the Savvy Sales Lady. Today we're going to talk about if you're going to be savvy at selling, then you must be classy, not trashy. Now, what do I mean by that? In this social media world that we now find ourselves in, people are becoming trashier and trashier with the way that they post on any of the social media platforms. There seems to be absolutely no filter in their brain before they sit down and type out a post. And either they're cussing, throwing down F-bombs, every other word, and just calling people out. What is even more disturbing is I'm finding this behavior on LinkedIn. Recently, a sales leader had a post on LinkedIn calling out these in-mails he's getting from salespeople that are pitching to him. Now, we're all getting inundated with these types of emails. I mean, I get them, almost daily, constantly, pitching franchises that they think I should buy, pitching digital marketing, all kinds of different pitches that I get on a daily basis on LinkedIn. That doesn't mean that because you're frustrated with these pitches that you call them out by name on LinkedIn. Now, they could be bots, so who cares? But the point is, we're all getting it. And this sales leader that decided he was going to make it his crusade to call out all of these people that have sent him pitches and embarrass them on LinkedIn. That's what I'm talking about. That's trashy. I'm sorry, that's trashy. The other thing I have noticed on LinkedIn is people openly cursing all the time with F-bombs, with all kinds of curse words. So it's even gotten trashy on LinkedIn. The other thing I have noticed that has just slowly disintegrated is the way people dress. Even salespeople have embraced the new casual way of dressing. It used to be when I was in corporate America, we had a casual Friday, and you were allowed to wear khakis or a golf shirt or something like that. In other words, you didn't have to come to work on Fridays being formally dressed in a suit. Well, now, I mean, that has just been kicked right out the door. Formal dressing is a thing of the past, it seems. People are showing up to sales appointments looking like they should be gardening, or they're showing up to church services in jeans or shorts and flip-flops. You know, I have always had a dress for success attitude. I've always taught the dress for success attitude. I believe in that. And just because you're working at home or you have a hybrid situation where you're in the office and then you work from home sometimes, why are we dressing down at home? When you're in front of a Zoom camera, you should look as professional as if you were sitting in front of them. And I do believe in dressing for success. You should be asking this simple question: how do you want to present yourself to the world? How do you want to present yourself to the client, to the prospect? In the way that you look and present yourself with your clothing and in your vocabulary and speech. What do you want to project to that client, that prospect, and to the world? That you take them seriously and that you respect them in your manner, in your behavior, and in the way you speak and dress. That's so important. Such a huge message you can send to be different from everyone else who doesn't mind being trashy. You be the classy one. People will never be offended by classy, and they will certainly be offended by trashy. Don't be like everyone else. Set yourself apart. When we decide that our attire goes from formal to just worse than casual, we also let other areas in our life slip as well, such as our language. And now all of a sudden it's fine to say the F-bomb every other word. I've often told this story over and over again about a client of mine who came to me. He was a client of mine 3 or 4 years ago. And he said to me, he has this prospect that used the F-bomb all the time. Would it be okay if he mirrored the man's language? And I said, no, don't do it. He could be testing you. And so he didn't take my advice. And so I heard from him later, and he decided that he was going to use the F word too, and did a few times during their next formal sit-down face-to-face meeting. And the prospect asked him to leave and told him he didn't want him around his staff because of his language. Now, my prospect was so confused by that. And I said, well, I believe the man was testing you and you fell for it, because prospects do test. So nobody wants to hear that. We don't need that kind of language when we're selling. If you really want to be savvy at selling, then make sure that you are professional in your language, but you're friendly when you're speaking to the prospect. If you want to be savvy at selling, dress for success. Don't come dressed casually. You know, I used to get criticized all the time when I was in the insurance industry by not only one of my bosses, but coworkers, that I didn't have to dress so formally to work. But here's the interesting thing. I never got criticized by my prospects and by my clients for dressing formally. One of my bosses, who was a woman that at Principal Insurance Company, she told me I didn't have to dress wearing a skirt, that I should be wearing pants. I always wore a nice suit blazer, a blouse, and a skirt. There were times that I did wear pants, but for the most part, I always wore a skirt, especially if I was going to be out making sales calls. I took my appearance seriously because I wanted my prospects and clients to take me seriously and as a respect for them. Then when I started my sales coaching and training business, I had someone on a team tell me that I didn't have to do my training in a suit with a skirt and high heels, that I could, just wear khakis and a t-shirt. And I said to them, no, that's not my uniform. My uniform is this right here. This is me, and this is how I dress out of respect for you, my client. Well, wouldn't you know, at the next training, this person dressed up a little more than he was the last time he came to my training. I wasn't trying to shame him, but he was trying to get me to downgrade my look, and I wasn't going to do it, because he understood then how seriously I take the way that I look when I'm presenting and training. And even when I'm coaching over Zoom or I'm training over Zoom, this is what you get. I still dress professionally, even when I'm sitting at home working my business. So I want you to think about these things. Even though the world has disintegrated their language and their dress and the way they conduct business, doesn't mean that you should. This is how you differentiate yourself from everyone else. You be the one that dresses formally. You be the one that speaks eloquently. You be the one that uses good vocabulary. Now, I'm not saying that you have to use big words or acronyms for your industry. Matter of fact, I always coach that you don't do that. You talk to people like you would talk to your friend. You explain things to people like you would explain to a friend. But just because the world is cussing every other word doesn't mean you should follow suit, and that's cool, or that's the way things are nowadays. Differentiate yourself. You be the difference maker in this way, and be classy, not trashy. All right, make it a great savvy selling week, and I'll see you next Tuesday.